Welcome to CSBJ Radio. CSBJ Radio is the premier online business talk radio show in the Southeast. CSBJ proactively connects, informs, and engages its listeners in all aspects of small business. Discover the entrepreneur in you with CSBJ Radio. Now, here's your host, Greg Wilson.
Hello and welcome to another edition of CSBJ Radio. I'm your host, Greg Wilson, the owner and publisher of Connection Small Business Journal. You can find us online at www.connectmybusiness.me. Again, www.connectmybusiness.me. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, utilizing the hashtag @ConnectMyBiz, B-I-Z-Z. And today, I'm very pleased to be sitting in a room of some very smart individuals. The owners, the founders, and even the marketing director of King Priest. How are we doing today?
Doing well.
Doing well. And again, King Priest, give me just some dialogue about King.
From home, school, and the medical facility. So there isn't just one test that the doctor could do because children are different in different situations.
Right.
So you're going to look at the stages of development of a child. And that's what makes it puzzling because there are some things that a 3-year-old does that are normal for a 3-year-old, but then there are also triggers for autism.
Oh, wow.
So it takes just monitoring the child over the years to say, hey, they're 6-year-old, they still hadn't talked. Or they're 6-year-old, why won't this baby look at me when I talk to him? Or they're 6 years old, why does this baby take their socks off, at inappropriate times or do inappropriate things? And then with those collaborative efforts, putting those documents together, putting those observations together, then we can as a team kind of get a diagnosis for this child.
Wow.
A lot of things are on the grand scale, so they do like measuring systems, so it's going to be like psychological tests that they're going to do and demonstrate on the child where they are versus where they should be with stages of development. So that's kind of how they come to a diagnosis for that baby.
Okay, and I was on your website earlier and saw just a question, is my child at risk? So what are some of the things that, as a parent and those that are listening that maybe want to know more about autism, how do we know if our child or children are at risk for autism?
Well, what I would say is recognize their behaviors. A lot of children on the spectrum have been diagnosed as being bad. So these would be your children that act up in the grocery store all the time, that say things and blurt things out inappropriately, that are very sensitive to certain things such as lights and sounds, and they just kind of may blurt out and act out for unknown causes. There are a lot of diseases or disabilities that could definitely affect or mimic autism. But with autism, you'll notice it because once you figure out what that problem is, then that behavior changes or that behavior ceases. So you want to make sure that when you notice things in your child, don't let people say, hey, your child is bad, but make sure that there isn't something clinical going on with that baby. A lot of the things when they have autism, medication can cure it because they're fighting against themselves. A lot of the behaviors they can't control. And there's a difference between a child being bad and intentionally doing something versus a child that you can stand there and look at them struggling like, I know that's hot, but I got to touch it.
Right.
So that's the difference between autism disorder or a spectrum disorder versus just a typical behavior in a child.
Okay. All right. And so we've talked about, what autism is and how, even as parents can, recognize maybe symptoms or things of that nature. But let's talk a little bit about King and Priest, or King Priest.
Okay.
I keep wanting to say King and Priest, because that's that's biblical, and even the name of your nonprofit organization I take to be biblical in nature.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Who you guys are. Again, how we got to start. And Brother Russell is over here smiling at me. But you're the brain child behind this. So let's talk about that king and priest, or king priest. Again, who you guys are, how did you get your start?
Well, king priest started, is definitely biblical. When we look at the word king priest, king is a person that whatever you declare, it is. He can make a declaration, and that's what it is. And a priest is just simply somebody who communes with God. So when we feel like whatever we're going to say is going to be that way, and we commune with God. So that's where the king priest organization started from. So, and we understand a lot of people come to us and say, well, what about the women?
Right.
Well, in the spiritual realm, there is only a male gender.
Right.
So we have women that are king priests too.
Exactly.
So, that's a lot where it came from, and God gave me this vision, and once I put it out there, everybody just came in and they rallied around me, and we just moved forward from there.
Right.
Yes, I mean, when he came to me with it, I saw the growth in it. I saw the meaning in it. Mm-hmm. And with both of us being, church-going men,
right,
and we actually are Bible-based men, when he brought it to me and I saw it, I couldn't help but hang on to it.
That's good. So how long has this organization been in existence?
Well, it's actually been in existence for about maybe a little over 8 years, but it just really, it's sort of like one of the type of things where I was doing a lot of underground work, if you want to call
exactly.
it. He was doing a lot of work at it, putting the pieces together. Myself and William Fryer here, we were putting the pieces together. I was bouncing stuff off of him. He was bouncing it off of me. And, now once we got up to about 2014, we started going to get EIN numbers,
exactly.
state representative numbers, and stuff like that, where we were putting things together so we could have the right licenses so we could move forward. And that's when it kind of like really started rolling within the last year or two.
Right. But before we go to commercial break, I mean, this is a small business newspaper, and
shoot up some, say about 30 feet. So what I'm saying to the small business people is, business is the same way. Exactly. A lot of stuff you won't even see on the ground,
right,
on top of the ground.
Right.
So do it take 30 days to grow? No. You have to water that thing every day.
That's right. That's
constantly watering it, with getting out every day, just talking to one person, meeting with somebody, making a phone call, or just doing some paperwork. And then when people see that business standing on top of the ground, a lot of people say, "Oh, it just took 30 days to get there."
Right.
It's the same way as that bamboo tree. You got to constantly water it every day,
right,
and then they'll see it grow.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And again, I mean, I appreciate even that Chinese proverb analogy there. So at this time, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and after we come back from commercial, we're going to talk a little bit more about upcoming events, projects, and those sorts of things for King Priest. We'll be right back after this brief message. Alabama weather can be devastating. With tornadoes hitting the area year after year, not protecting your family can be risky. Safety Shelter can provide peace of mind in the most chaotic of circumstances. They have been engineering and manufacturing storm shelters to the highest quality for over 20 years right here in Hartselle, Alabama. They know exactly what it takes to keep your family safe and secure during severe weather. Their above-ground safe rooms are bolted to concrete and can withstand the weight of a house.
I hope to do is get a group of parents to ride up to this place. They're going to, only thing we have to do is get there. They're going to cover lodging, they're going to cover food, and it's a 3-day event, well, 2 to 3 days. They're going to have projects, workshops, training parents on how to go out and mentor to families that have disabilities, to love your neighbor, to teach them, to train their children, not just with the parent of the autistic child, but to the siblings, to the relatives, anyone that's going to be in the general and direct care of that child, to train them how to comfort and love on that child and not treat them so different even though they have a diagnosis. We just hosted a Lego movie along with the Autism Symposium.
You see Batman Lego?
Yeah, it was awesome. But not only did they do that, but it was actually, they dimmed the lights, the sound was turned down, the theater was rented out, and they actually had sensory stations. So if your child decided, hey, I don't want to watch this movie anymore, I want to go play in the sensory station, and they had the opportunity to do that. So we were really excited about collaborating with that. And even though I didn't physically get to go, I know that there were a lot of connections. I had another event on that day, the spelling bee, that same event, that same day. But they were able to sign up a lot of families that didn't even know that the Navicent Health Autism Center existed in our community. And now that person's going to go tell another person and tell another person. And that's how it's going to trickle down. Very quickly, and for Autism Awareness Month, we have our very first kickoff event with Chuck E. Cheese. And they're going to have a sensory station in there as well. So what they're going to do is actually dim the lights in the whole building, which is huge. It's going to be on a Sunday. So it's going to be on a day where they can just kind of come in, because lights are triggers. You know, all the noises and the sounds and all that stuff is very, I mean, it can trigger an autistic child to go into a fit or go into a panic and trigger those bad behaviors. So for them to do that and make that effort as a corporation, that says a lot about the community's capability and ability and willingness to love on these children. A couple more things. Autism Symposium. We're going to be featured guests. That's April the 8th. It's going to be at the Medical Center here in Georgia. And then, of course, last but not least, the grand opening of our brand new site. So once our site is open, we just can't wait. It's going to be able to host as many events as possible. It can be a comfort zone and a safety net for our families. And we're so excited about it, being able to give back and lend a hand and be God's hands in the earth for these families in our area. Good.
And when is the grand opening for your new facility?
Well, we're looking for, what date we got? We got some work.
Well, we got several dates. We just got a couple of things that we have to work on as far as the city and things like that, and make sure it's going to be safe for the children and the parents that's coming, because, you know, the lights and sound and stuff, it can be an issue. So once we get that and among other things taken care of, it's
Well, I mean, I know that we are in the midst of recording this podcast, but you know, I want to be a part of that. You know, I want Connection Small Business Journal to be a part of that grand opening. You know, so I'm prepared. You let me know when, and you know, we'll come down and show our support for it as well. And going back, you know, to the schools, I think that is there a link that you have, and you may have already mentioned this, Monique, but is there a link that you have with the school system, the county schools, the city schools here in Macon, where your organization can go in and even assist the schools in dealing with these individuals?
So the opportunity there lies with Bibb County is a Title I school district. So we know that our district is stricken with poverty, low-income families. 100% of our students are receiving free breakfast and free lunch.
How many?
100%.
100%. Wow.
100%. So it doesn't matter what your parents make or whatever. It's already been determined that the bulk of the community is in need of these services. So 100% of the students eat free. So that says a lot about the caliber of the student that we're working with. So we also realize that there are a lot of issues with test scores, and that stems from literacy. But a lot of the literacy, to me, and what I've learned from the research, comes from lack of diagnosis. You know, where diagnoses have gone pushed under the rug and untreated. And now to get a diagnosis at 7, you've missed years of treatment, because early intervention is imperative to having a successful and normal life with autism. There are a lot of different places around here, and it stems from first acceptance. You know, you have to understand that, hey, something may definitely be going on with your child, and it may be something beyond their control. So we have to look at trying to get that connection with the doctors, have those conversations, and they're not easy conversations. We want to make sure that families know that we advocate for them. So we're willing to go into these meetings. We're willing to sit down and have those tough conversations. We know what questions to ask, even when the parents don't. So we want to make sure that we have those conversations and get the ball rolling to get the help. We want to make sure that families know that we are there for them when it comes to, I guess, with helping with financial things. So if they need utility assistance or things like that, or if they need, we've given rides to families to their meetings. Families didn't know that they could get to different places, so they call on us, and we don't have a problem with making sure that they make those dates instead of having to reschedule.
So it seems as if, even though that, you know, the original burden that was placed on your heart, Jeff, you know, dealing with autism is really growing, you know, because not only, I mean, what I see is that not only